We are now joined by Malawi Minister of Information and Chief Government Spokesperson Gospel Kazako. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Mr. Kazako.
Thank you.
Now, Malawi is saying that the travel restrictions imposed on SADC member countries amounts to Afrophobia. Can you please elaborate for us? I know that South Africa has said that it's actually a knee-jerk reaction.
Firstly, let me say that we celebrate with those scientists from Africa, the ones that had discovered this new variant before any other country, before any other continent in the world. We celebrate and we cherish them, and we're happy. We think strongly that this is indeed something that is not decided in good faith, because there isn't abundant evidence of science to motivate a decision or the decisions to ban countries to travel to certain countries. Let me also mention here that the way the decisions have been made, you can see that those that are highly involved in the process of making these decisions, they can't even speak with one scientific voice. For example, the United Kingdom has banned 10 out of 16 countries in SADC region. The United States has banned 3 out of 16 countries in SADC region, and Canada has done 8 out of 10, and Australia 9 out of 16. So one wonders how these decisions were made. The other thing is that this Omicron variant has been confirmed into other countries, or in other countries like Belgium, Germany, Israel, countries like Italy, Czech Republic, even the UK and Hong Kong. They have actually confirmed that they have this variant. But when you look at the list of red light countries, I think some of those countries are not appearing. So our motivation to take that position is not necessarily that we have an addiction to visit the UK or an addiction to visit the United States, no, but we are questioning the process, and we think that it's not smelling very good for fragrance. It is smelling a fragrance of certain genre of xenophobia, internationally processed xenophobia. You might wish to remember that this is not the first time that there have been such bans. But at that time, as a country, we had no problems. As a region, we had no problem, because there was evidence of science that had motivated those decisions. So President Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, as chair of the SADC region, has shown leadership in leading, and I can assure you there are so many voices across Africa that are actually supporting his position that this is smelling Afrophobia and is not made in good faith. Let me also mention here that this is not the first time that we are grappling with the problems like the ones that we are facing in the COVID-19 issue. Remember, we have HIV issue, ministers. And I remember very well that my president, who is the SADC chair, has made it very clear to so many countries in so many gatherings that countries in Africa must be given opportunities to, for example, produce COVID-19 vaccines, to produce any other medical or scientific interventions in the COVID-19 interventions. That has not been done. That has not been heard, and there has been silence. Now, the questions that we have to ask as Africans is, for example, HIV is said to be headquartered here in Africa, but if you check the factories, the number of factories that manufacture condoms, for example, I think 95, 98 factories are not in Africa. The factories that manufacture ARVs, for example, just one simple example, are not in Africa. So these are the sort of things that are fertilizing our thinking that maybe certain things are not done in good faith. We respect these countries, but I think it's also very important for them to be looking at African countries as equal partners and, again, equal inhabitants of this globe.
A very valid point, Minister, particularly if you look at where we are as a continent in the fight against HIV/AIDS. But going back to the virus now, I mean, we're seeing that these countries that have imposed this travel ban on the SADC countries, the numbers are skyrocketing. The numbers are very, very high. So how do you respond to the argument that these countries are proactive with the aim of protecting their citizens when they shut those borders?
Those are some of the syllabus that they use in the subjects of making sure that Africa is not ahead. Those are some of the articles and items that they use. It's very, very clear that they're actually in trouble. And if anything, it could have been us banning them from coming to Africa and not them banning us to go to Africa. I'll give a good example here, one that will fertilize your question, I say, so that your viewers are able to understand this. We hear that there was a Malawian who had traveled to Israel, for example, and then when he did travel to Israel, I think he was found to have this new variant of COVID-19. But when you look at the list of countries that have been banned, for example, I think you find that Israel on many lists is actually absent, and Malawi is all over, just like in other country. We are of the view that if indeed these things were done in very good faith using scientific evidence, then I think those countries that are suspected or indeed are confirmed to have this Omicron variant could have been even on a deeper red list, so that fairness must be seen to be done. So we are aware Africa is now opening a new page of realization and is actually putting on very new lenses, and is actually monitoring anything that will be smelling certain not well-processed imperialism and, of course, xenophobia, and anything that is smelling and looking down upon it. And fortunately, we also have leaders, brilliant leaders like that coming from Lazarus Chakwera, president of Malawi, who is also a chairperson of SADC. This president will always stand strong and is not scared to actually stand for truth and truth for Africa, because it's high time that Africa started to protect its area.
Now, in fact, Minister, a lot, obviously, of African voices coming out condemning what we are currently seeing with these red travel bans imposed on several countries, particularly in Africa. In fact, Africa Vaccine Delivery Alliance, in an interview, also a television interview earlier, condemning, these travel bans and calling on the heads of states of Africa, particularly the SADC region, to come out very strongly and take this opportunity, to speak very, very strongly against the West and against these reactions that you are obviously stating as Afrophobia, knee-jerk reactions, etc., which also again speaks to that narrative of aligning themselves away from Africa and not really being inclusive. So Malawi, as the current chair of SADC, with President Lazarus Chakwera, is he intending to convene a virtual SADC meeting to discuss this crisis as an example? This decision will obviously affect the economy of the region, and leaders of the SADC region are being called to take a harder stance.
Yeah, you should expect a very strong voice coming from the SADC region. You should expect something very loud and something well calculated, but at the same time, very intelligent arguments coming from SADC region. The SADC region is very lucky that they have a leader who actually believes in Africa. And certainly when that meeting takes place, it will not just be a meeting that is full of placebos or just placebo talking. It will be a meeting that will be convened and to discuss matters that are having to be discussed, so that this issue is well dissected, and then we must find a solution. We must find a solution because the time to find a solution is now. And SADC is a very, very crucial part of the African region. Very, very crucial. And it's also a very big market, I must say, about 360 million people, strong market in SADC. So yes, this decision will affect us. Because, as you know, that countries do trade globally, and there are certain things like tourism and others, certainly that will be affected. it's not the first time that we've been affected, I must say. But as I said earlier, that we never argued anything during the first time when such a decision was made, because at that time, I think we were convinced that there was evidence of science that had motivated that decision. But this time around, let me also say this, that we really don't know what these developed countries are planning, or whether they are indeed very interested to see our economies growing, or our economies having life, or our economies having to perform in the manner that is expected, because they are fully aware that all these economies are interlinked. And then should one country close out another, certainly we are affected. Already in Malawi, the economy is not growing at the rate that we expect. And the major reason is the COVID-19. And then making decisions that will affect various economies, not just Malawi, but we should be looking at the SADC economy and, of course, African-wide economy. These decisions must be made thoroughly, must be made with abundant, clear, and honest thoughtfulness, so that there shouldn't be any genre of carelessness. As it is, I think one would be tempted to say that those that made these decisions were a little close to being careless, because we needed to have evidence of science for us to have these decisions. And let me also mention here that their failure to even collaborate amongst themselves, even to believe in science and let science guide them, speaks to us very fluently. It is whispering to us very fluently that something is not adding up when you're closing down 2 countries, another country is closing down 3 countries in the same region. COVID-19 is a pandemic that is affecting human beings. There are human beings in South Africa, there are human beings in Mozambique, there are human beings in Zambia, and all over in SADC region, human beings in Botswana, human beings in Eswatini. We really don't know how they would be making such decisions. But we are a civilized region. We have a civilized leadership. Certainly, I think those that are making such decisions will find a reason for us to sit down and discuss these matters and be able to close down any attempt in future to make decisions that are not well informed, but decisions that would be very, very detrimental to the economy and, of course, let alone to the majority of the people in SADC region and again in Africa as a whole.
Minister, perhaps before I let you go, and as we close this conversation, you mentioned collaboration between those countries, and it brings me to this conversation then. Give us a sense or a level of comfort as a region that you are collaborating and there are discussions taking place in SADC. I mean, Botswana said that they had detected the variant even before South Africa made the announcement. So questions then arise. Did Botswana share the information with the region? Did the South African scientists share the information with the region before the announcements were made? So is there as these talks of intra-trade talks continue and intensify in the region, is there a level of collaboration that is happening? Are you coming at these countries that are continuously sidelining Africa with one shared voice?
Let me start by saying that the way we look at the region and the way we look at Africa, we look at Africa and we look at SADC region as one area, one market. So it doesn't matter whether this has been discovered by Mozambique, whether this has been discovered by Botswana, whether this has been discovered by South Africa. These are our brothers and sisters coming from Africa. And we get our pride that this is coming from Africa. It doesn't matter who has done it, because we cannot be competing ourselves, because doing that will be feeding the egos of those that believe in our being divided. Once we say, oh, it's me who started this, no, we must feel proud, all of us, in the interest of unity, in the interest of brotherhood and sisterhood, that this is coming from Africa. So whether it's South Africa, as I said, or it's Botswana, or it's Lesotho, it really doesn't matter. What is important is this thing has been discovered in Africa. Now, talking about our collaboration, there is very, very huge and adequate collaboration between countries. Ministers of health in these countries have been meeting, and there have been so many technical meetings to talk about these things. And every time that President Lazarus Chakwera, who is the chairperson of SADC, is meeting any other heads of state, just last week, we had a very successful trip by his brother, President Nyusi from Mozambique. Apart from so many other issues that we discussed on trade, on energy, on security, on transport, and so on and so forth, that would benefit Malawi and, of course, SADC in general. I think these issues were also discussed to make sure that we actually put up a battalion or a barracks that would be able to defend SADC as a region. So be assured that there is collaboration, and the beauty is that the collaboration is inherently produced. It's not motivated by any other person or any other country or any other continent from anywhere. It is a responsibility, that is there, and this responsibility has been produced by countries in SADC region because they see the need. And when SADC region does that, there's also an involvement of the African Union. Africa is not what it used to be in the 1950s when there was a scramble for Africa. Africa is not what it used to be in 1970, 1980. We now have a new generation of leaders that are able to put on lenses that will change the shape of Africa, lenses that will change the shape of the future of Africa, lenses that are able to see things that have to be seen, because for a long time we've been duped, I must say, because our leaders didn't really look at that. Of course, there were great leaders like Nelson Mandela, who started to lay the foundation, and other leaders like Sankara and a few others, the list is long, that actually started to lay the foundation. But now is the time for us to harvest what these great leaders had put in place and make sure that we're coordinating and able to detect anything that is coming that we think is not in our interest. And this is why SADC is speaking with one region. This is why President Lazarus Chakwera, chairperson of SADC, is speaking strongly, leading the entire side of SADC in ensuring that there's fairness in doing this, there's justice in doing this, and again, there's also acceptable reason and evidence for doing this. But, before I go, let me also mention that it should not be mistaken that by saying this, we are crying to be going to the United States. That's not what we are saying. It should not be taken as if we are crying to be entering the United Kingdom. No, those are countries just like our countries. They are also citizens that visit us. We appreciate that, and we also visit them because we are creating a win-win situation, because that has to be put on record also. We are doing this because we are a side of Africa, a part of Africa that believes in doing things right, doing things correctly, doing things, if they are science, there has to be, or scientific, there must be things or issues that are made or decisions that are made using proven, acceptable evidence of science. And that's what we're saying. But as it is, and as we stand now, certainly I think the information is there, details are there, data is there. We really don't think that this was made out of good evidence of science at all. It must have been a motivation by something else.
Minister Kazako, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.